Chapter 12. Traylon, Kara started to say before she blew out an exasperated breath. All right, I'll man the controls while you go through the ride. Thank you, Mia Lila, Traylon murmured, brushing a kiss across her lips. I just want to see how the programming works. You're just worried it won't, Kara teased, leaning into him and sliding her hands up to his shoulders. One of Traylon's programs not work? Only in a Curzon's dream, a deep voice replied dryly, startling Traylon. They always were envious of your weapon systems, Traylon. Traylon turned, pushing Kara protectively behind him, and clenched his fists. Viper! I swear one of these days I'm going to take your head off, he growled, with a shake of his head, before he straightened and relaxed. We weren't sure you were going to make it. Is your mate with you? Yes, she is talking with Riley and the other women, Viper replied with a grimace of distaste. I left when Melina started sharing what happened to Cree and Kalo earlier. Tina assured me it was only a matter of time before I experienced the green leak. As it is, Leo has already proven to have a very good aim, he added, rubbing the bridge of his nose as if trying to erase an unpleasant memory. Thank goodness for little girls, Traylon replied, with a sympathetic slap on Viper's shoulder and a chuckle. Keelan and Zoran have said the same thing about their boys. Well, don't feel too smug, darling, Kara retorted, patting Traylon on the chest. Your day is coming sooner than you think, she said with a wink before turning to walk back toward the group of women. Kara didn't need to glance over her shoulder to know that Traylon's mouth was hanging open. Her dragon had shared the secret earlier. She had to hand it to her dragon. Normally, a male dragon knew when his seed took in a female. I want to surprise our mates, her dragon sniffed. Well, Kara responded with a gentle, mental pat on the head, unable to resist the glance after all. Yep, his mouth was hanging open, and he looked a little pale. I think you did that. So what's the plan? Riley asked the moment Kara walked up to join the other women and her. She rubbed her hands together in anticipation. Did you get the cameras installed? That doesn't sound good. What are you so excited about? Tina asked suspiciously. Hi, Tina, Kara greeted with an infectious grin, nodding her answer to Riley. Yes. Thank you, Kara. Tina, why do you always think I'm up to something? Riley asked, turning to glare at her sister in mock exasperation. I'm just asking if Kara was able to install the cameras. Why would you care about cameras unless you are up to something? And don't give me that old excuse of old habits from work die hard, Tina pointed out with a raised eyebrow. I grew up with you. You don't get excited about anything unless it means you're about to do something you shouldn't. That is so not true. I have been very good since I was abducted by aliens. Well, except for blowing up the mining asteroid I was on, and maybe the freighter that we escaped on and almost dying, Riley retorted with a wave of her hands. You can hardly blame me for getting kidnapped, though. It isn't like I was wearing an alien abduction beacon or anything. No, you saved that for Pearl and me, Tina reminded her sister, before she sighed when Riley's lips drooped. Okay, so that wasn't such a bad thing either, Tina rolled her eyes and shook her head. Okay, it was an awesome idea because I never would have met Viper or had Leo or found you or a host of other wonderful, fabulous, marvelous, stupendous things. Riley's lips twitched when Tina finally finished. Vox owes me a full day of shopping, she laughed with a clap. He said I'd never, ever get you to admit that you love it here in a million years. You girls are my witnesses. We've got you covered, Riley, Tricia promised with a grin. I can't believe you tricked me. You made a bet? With Vox? Tina groaned. I'm going to neuter your hubby, mate, whatever. Was Viper in on this? I love it when they get together, Ariel murmured, leaning closer to Melina. It's better than any comedy show. I've never gone to a comedy show before, but I have to admit this is funny, Melina whispered back, watching the exchange. Tina is good. She can keep up with Riley. I would still be trying to think of something to say. Riley's delighted laughter echoed through the air. She tossed her curly mane of blonde hair and glanced around her at the other women with sparkling blue eyes. "Yes, but it was a win-win," she promised with glee. "Viper said you'd never admit it, and if you did, you could join me on a complete shopping and spa afternoon sans kids." "No kids? But who's going to watch them?" Tina asked in shock, before her expression changed to a wary one. "Shopping and spa on the same day? Do you have any idea how long that will take?" "Hours," Riley replied, wrapping her arm through Tina's and throwing out her hand as if showing off the universe. "You, me, and the unlimited credits. Just imagine it. You know, if you had told me sooner, I would have recorded the damn thing months ago. The only reason I refused to admit anything was because the other guys were being such pains in the ass," Tina complained. "Zoran and the others?" Abby asked in surprise. "Why would they give you a hard time?" "Not them," Tina and Riley said with matching laughter. "Vox's and Viper's pain-in-the-ass brothers." "They are currently trying to help babysit the twins," Riley replied with a sigh. "They are one reason we are leaving tomorrow night, right after the festival. His brothers have been teasing Vox about the twins misbehaving ever since we've been gone. It doesn't really matter, though. 4 days away from the girls are enough to drive Vox crazy. I just thought it was important to spend some quality time with Rome. He really loves being here with the kids, and he would have been heartbroken if he had to miss the Halloween festival with Balint and the others this year." "Don't be fooled, Riley. Vox would have been just as disappointed," Tina snorted. "Sometimes I don't know who is the biggest kid. Oh, wait. Yes, I do." "Ha ha," Riley replied dryly. "See if I try to get you a coveted shop and spa day again." "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a break. How about we go check out the city here? We can show you some amazing shops along the market, and there's this little restaurant where I installed a coffee machine in, and they have the best pastries," Kara suggested. "What about the kids?" Riley said with a worried frown. "The men can watch the younglings for a few hours," Morian said, surprising the other women. They turned to gaze at her with a skeptical expression, but Morian brushed their concerns aside with a wave of her hand. "They'll have plenty of help from the symbiotes. I'm sure they can handle the younglings for just a couple of hours without the palace falling apart," Morian said with a laugh. "Paul will also be here, and the symbiotes are excellent babysitters. I would love a few hours out with you girls." "Then what are we waiting for?" Abby laughed. "Tina, do you have an outfit for tomorrow? If not, there is this marvelous shop with all kinds of beautiful costumes. We can go there after lunch." "No, I don't," Tina said with excitement at the idea. "This is going to be so much fun. Maybe we should have found us a couple of dragonshifters," Riley sighed, before her gaze caught on Vox and a soft purr escaped her. "Or maybe not," she muttered, covering her mouth. "My damn cat is a horny little furball." "There is something about the way they move," Tina agreed with a sigh. "Fortunately, Leo still sleeps a lot at the moment." Laughter echoed as the small group moved toward the wary men who could sense that their mates were on a mission. 20 minutes later, the women were exiting the palace, flushed with excitement, while the men, with the exception of Paul, were looking decidedly panicky. Cree and Kalo glanced down at the tiny figure of their daughter and swallowed. This was the first time they had been left completely alone with her since her birth. Before, Melina had always been within easy calling distance. "What do we do?" Cree asked Paul. Paul grinned as he adjusted Morah on his hip. "Hope that she takes a very long nap," he responded with a chuckle. "I think we are going to take the kids to the paint house to play. They seem to love it there," Traylon said with a glance at the group. "They won't be able to get into mischief there." "Let's hope not," Bandra muttered under his breath, glancing over at Jade and Amber, where they were talking excitedly to one another. "Something tells me the kids are up to something. I can just feel it." All the men turned to stare at the small group of kids. The feeling grew when he studied the serious expression on Jabir's face. His small son had that same fierce, determined look on his face that he got when he wanted to rescue some poor, unsuspecting animal from whatever threat that Jabir was sure existed out there. He was just like his mother when it came to animals, unstoppable. "Traylon, I think that's an excellent suggestion," Mandra added. "I think sooner would be better than later." 10 minutes later, all the men released a sigh of relief. The 9 older younglings were inside the paint house, playing. Paul was taking Morah through the different houses, while Viper, Cree, and Kalo had Leo and Hope down for what they hoped would be a very, very long nap. "This isn't so bad," Traylon boasted, lifting a cold drink to his lips. "I love this place." "You love it because you don't have to clean up after the girls," Creon snorted. "And it keeps them out of Kara's workshop and tools," Keelan added. "And," Mandra started to say, before he stopped and frowned. "And just what they said," he said, nodding at Creon and Keelan. Traylon laughed and leaned back, lifting his legs and resting his feet on another chair in the outside cafe area. The cavern was buzzing with workers getting the area ready for tomorrow's festival. They had all decided to enjoy Kara's replication of an earth beverage called beer. He could see the symbiotes and kids playing through the large windows. They were monitoring the kids and would alert them. "Where did Vox go?" Mandra asked, looking around for the huge seraphim. "He wanted to call and check on the twins again," Creon replied with a grin. "He has no idea that it will only get worse as they get older." "Tell me about it," Traylon retorted with a grimace. The men laughed and relaxed while they chatted about how their lives had changed since that one fateful day when Zoran crash-landed on Abby's mountain back on Earth. "You know, I never thought I would be thankful for getting kidnapped," Zoran murmured to the group. He stared into the frosty mug of amber liquid for a moment before he looked around the table and lifted his mug up in the air. "To old rebellions and new lives," he toasted. "To true mates and good friends," Haven added quietly, touching his mug to Zoran's. "What did I miss?" Vox asked, walking up. "A toast to true mates and good friends," Zoran said. "I'll drink to that," Vox muttered, and sat down in the vacant chair between Haven and Creon, and motioned to a passing worker that he wanted a glass of beer. "How are you doing?" Creon asked, slapping Vox on the shoulder. "I'm going to kill my brothers and father when I get home," Vox admitted, draining the glass and motioning for another. "If Riley doesn't do it first," he added, wiping a hand across his mouth. "What did they do this time?" Haven chuckled. Vox scowled. "They have a list of potential mates for the girls," he muttered. "Like I'll ever let a horny cat near one of my girls." Creon and Traylon sat back in their seats and burst into laughter, nodding in agreement with Vox as he ranted and raved about all the things he was going to do if his father dared try to negotiate a bond between some young cat and his daughters. "What are we going to do, Zohar?" Rome asked, peeking out the window at the men sitting at the table. "How's we supposed to booby-traps the castle if we aren't there?" "We knows," Jade and Amber announced behind them. "How's do you thinks we can get out without being seen?" Zohar asked, with a frown. "Through the tunnels," Jade said. "They's connects alls the things togethers. Mommy says it's to makes things looks more real." "Can you find your way back to the castle?" Zoran asked, with a skeptical expression. Amber nodded. "Simba knows how to get there," she promised. "What about our daddies?" Alice asked, peeking outside where her daddy was sitting. "We can make some movie," Balint suggested. On the wall behind them, a video showed a replay of them playing earlier. The kids loved seeing themselves up on the wall. They watched for several long seconds before Balint continued. "You's just gots to press the buttons and dance." "Yay!" Alice exclaimed, clapping. "Eyes make movies!" Several minutes later, the small group, along with their golden partners in crime, quietly slipped out of the paint house and down the service tunnel. On the wall, a video loop streamed the children happily playing inside. Each of the men glanced every minute or so to make sure the kids were behaving, completely oblivious to the fact that all they were seeing was a recording.